The information given on this program is not, nor is it intended to be legal advice. You should consult an attorney for individual advice regarding your own situation. Legal Help Live is brought to you by Barney's Beanery, with 4 new locations in the Los Angeles area.
Welcome everybody to Legal Help Live. It is that time, it is this place, and we are live. I'm Ralph, that's Steve, and welcome to Legal Help Live. Steve, what do people call about?
Any kind of legal question, 1-800-405-4222. I was at the PBR Rodeo last week.
And that stands for what?
Professional bull riding, maybe. If you've never been on a big bull, you've thrown a lot of bull.
Yeah, that's what lawyers do, isn't that right?
And the interesting part about it was, you know, I see all these sports events. If you've got a sports problem, if you're a high school athlete and you get injured, can you sue? Can you sue the coach? Can you sue for a bad snap if you break your arm or a leg? How about if you're sitting in a Dodger game and you're out there eating a hot dog, drinking a soft drink, watching the Dodgers try and make it to something every year, and you get hit in the head with a foul ball? You got a lawsuit there?
How about if you pay a whole lot of money for a ticket and you don't get past the first couple of games of the playoff?
Or how about if you go to the Clipper game and you got great seats and one of the players goes diving for a ball, dives into the second row where you're sitting and falls on you and messes your nose off?
I'm sitting in the 56th row, and that guy's got to be one amazing athlete to get up there.
So, sports question, if you're a tenant with a landlord problem, if you've got an immigration problem, if you want to know how you can get here legally, I want to talk about that. Whether you can get a driver's license. What's the effect of the most recent ballot propositions that passed in California?
That is an excellent
that now
topic.
reduce a number of felonies, like date rape drugs from felonies to misdemeanors.
Retroactively.
So
Yeah, that means people can go back in time and have their alternate felony misdemeanors turned into misdemeanors in certain crimes.
Theft, all kinds of non-alleged violent crimes. There'll be about 10,000 people now, they say, who are in state prison who will have an obligation and a right to go before a judge now and get resentenced. Most of them have spent more than a year in jail already, and so they will be walked out of state prison.
They'll just walk free.
Interesting situation.
Very interesting.
May want to talk about that. Quality of life problems, traffic congestion.
How about traffic tickets? How about red light cameras? Are there still red light cameras?
Oh, lots of red light cameras.
I guess not every jurisdiction still does red light cameras, but some do. And there's some very interesting things to talk about it. So if you've had one of those flashes go off in your face as you go through an intersection, call us. Ask us about that. 1-800-405-4222.
How about if you have a pension? You work for a company for 30 years. Your money's been put in it. Their money's been put in it. The company goes bankrupt. What happens to your pension? Or you're working for a government in California.
Yeah.
And it goes bankrupt.
Yeah, that's been
what happens to
happening
your
too.
pension?
That's been happening too.
Wow. Or you're living in a community and suddenly this huge house is going to be built next to you. And there's a nice bunch of small houses and they want to put a mansion in next to you.
Wasn't that just on the ballot?
I'm sure it was
in some jurisdictions?
Someplace.
Yes.
Someplace.
Yeah.
Any kind of questions. Is marijuana legal in California? What are we doing about some of these kind of problems or non-problems? Who's cleaning up the air? What's the problem over that? You got a barking dog next door. What do you do? Any of those problems, give us a call and we'll talk about it. Why don't we go into some of the legal things that are going on?
Oh, there's some interesting stuff going on. Absolutely. You know, in 2002, this has got a lot of people laughing and a lot of people concerned. But in 2002, after the Enron crimes that were committed, the big scandal, Congress, the United States Congress, passed what's called the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which makes it a crime, and it wasn't before, but now it's a felony in the United States district courts. It's a felony. It's a crime to destroy evidence.
So that's why they stopped giving accountants or CPAs when they graduate college and pass the test.
That's a
they
possibility.
They don't get the shredders anymore.
So here's this commercial fisherman fishing in national waters in the United States, and he catches groupers. Now, you know what that is. That's a fairly large fish, isn't it? Or at least it's supposed to be.
Every fish, if you're fishing, is large.
If you're a fisherman, yes. So he's catching undersized groupers, and he's caught at it. When it's time for the federal government to remeasure these groupers for prosecution, the groupers are gone. So the United States Attorney's Office files an Sarbanes-Oxley violation against this guy, and it's going to be argued, are you ready for this? It's going to be argued before the United States Supreme Court as to whether this law applies to fish.
Sounds pretty fishy to me.
It does indeed.
So
you know, we've already got a call if you want to start taking phone calls.
Sure, and then I'm going to ask you a question about fish.
I'm always ready for a fish question.
Fish law. I hope you took a shower today.
So who's out there? All right. Come on in and talk to us.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
What's your name?
Babsy.
Okay. And what area are you calling from?
Glendale, California.
Okay.
How can we help you?
Yeah, what's your
Hope
question?
you're having a great day.
Yes, sir. I just want to ask you a question stating that I had a fall in New York and I fractured my knee in 3 places, and I was in the hospital for 1 week, and then I was transferred to the what's that thing called? Forgotten the name.
So you're transferred from one hospital to Bellevue, probably.
No, Bellevue. I was transferred to the what is that thing called?
Are you still in rehabilitation? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. Are you still going through rehab?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, just want to know what should I do next in order to get some kind of help.
Okay, so you were walking in on the streets in New York. What city were you in?
In Queens, New York.
In Queens. Okay.
Well, first of all, the laws in California are different than the laws in New York. So number one, you're going to have to get an attorney in New York, in the state of New York, preferably in Queens, and there are a lot of competent lawyers because California state law applies to accidents that happen in California, and New York law applies to accidents that happen in New York. So you need to get a lawyer. Are you in California now, or are you in New York?
I'm in California.
Okay. Are there any witnesses to the accident?
My ex-husband was there.
And how long ago did it happen?
It happened in 2011.
Okay, that's a lot of years ago.
2011?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There's a thing called statute of limitations. This means you've got to act fairly quickly. If I was you, I'd get a hold of the New York City Bar Association, get the name and phone number of a lawyer in New York, place a phone call, and have someone in New York represent you and find out about it. I don't know whether you've blown the time. You know, in California, you might have 6 months to 2 years, depending how you slipped. Make sure you keep the shoes that you were working. Make sure that the witnesses are available. If there are any pictures or photographs, get them. But get a lawyer right now because you may have waited too long.
It may be. And as
lawyer in New York?
As Steve said, this is a New York case. It's going to require New York expertise and a New York lawyer. So Steve's right. We strongly suggest that you do that. If you can't by yourself find a New York lawyer, call us tomorrow, not today, but tomorrow during regular business hours. At the 800 number,
and we can refer you to some lawyers in New York.
Yeah, at 1-800-405-4222. Babsy, thank you very much for calling us on Legal Help Live. We've got to take a little bit of a break. When we come back, we'll be taking your calls. Again, that's 1-800-405-4222. Ralph, Steve, Legal Help Live.
And those of you on hold on, we'll get right to you.
Stay tuned for more Legal Help Live.
Discover 30 years of opera in Santa Monica. Discover the Verdi Chorus.
Riding a bicycle can seem like child's play.
But only if you're playing indoors. Cars and bikes need to play together.
Play it safe. Ride by the rules.
Hey, share the road.
Who knows what gratitude means? Nicholas?
To be thankful.
Writing letters to our military is a great way to say thank you for their service.
Frisco! Somebody loves you.
Dear soldier, thank you for keeping me safe. You're my hero.
To donate or send a care package to America's heroes, visit OperationGratitude.com.
I thought I had everything under control. Then, one day, something happened. I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know there was help. Until someone told me.
Providing access to justice, the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles can help with domestic violence issues, eviction defense, government benefits, immigration, and other civil legal issues.
We are back. Legal Help Live. Steve there, Ralph here. We're taking your calls at 1-800-405-4222. You call in, ask a legal question. We will give you a legal answer.
And for those of you who get on the air, you're going to get 2 tickets for lunch or dinner at Barney's. And if you call the number that's on the screen tomorrow, call that number tomorrow if you get on the air, and they'll give you the information, and then we'll send them out to you. So for all those of you who get on the air, it's 2 free tickets for Barney's. Call tomorrow.
Very simple rule. Get on the air, ask a legal question, get a legal answer, and then call again tomorrow. Give us your contact information. We'll get you that dinner.
For those of you who just joined in, we just got off a call with a lady who had tripped and fallen in Queens in New York, and we discussed what she should be doing in that. If you've got any kinds of legal problems, from animal rights to neighborhood problems, from traffic tickets to small claims problems, from immigration to taxation.
To big cases. The doctor took out the wrong tonsil, took off the wrong leg. Actually, there are cases like that.
Or you don't think you're being paid right on the job, and you work on a job and you're not getting time and a half.
Or you've got a boss that makes your job a living misery.
Employment discrimination,
yes.
Harassment, you name it, we'll deal with it.
You bet. We've got Sandra waiting to talk to us. Sandra, come on in and ask your legal question, please.
Hi, my name's Sandra. I'm calling from Torrance area. I, over the weekend, was with my husband playing golf and was hit in the back of the head from the golfers behind us. It was a group of 3 or 4 teenage kids, and now I'm experiencing severe headaches and migraines, and I'm wondering what to do next. If it's, do I contact the golf course, or do I go after the kids or their parents? I just don't know what to do at this point.
Okay, great question. Injured playing golf.
Yes.
That golf, of course, you got to start with is a game of violence. Okay, it
sure
makes me violent. I've learned all kinds of words I didn't know I had in my heart. But were you playing on a public course or a private club?
It was a public course, not private.
Okay, if the course is owned by the government, you got to realize that if you're going to sue the government, and some governments own or manage municipal courses, then you have to file a claim within 6 months from the date of the bad swing. You got to file a claim. The second issue is to whether or not you signed a release when you went out and played golf. In some courses, you sign releases. You may or may not have noticed it when you did it. If the release is not the appropriate situation, doesn't meet legal requirements, you may be able to get out of that.
And even if you haven't signed a release, there may be signage on the course that says you're playing there at your own risk.
Well, sometimes that may or may be worth the price of the sign. But the problem is that in most sports situations in California, if and I'm assuming that you're over 18, so you're an adult.
Yes.
Am I correct on that?
Yes, you are.
And you're not in a class. You're playing with some friends. Most of us know that when we go out, or it's presumed that we know, when we go out on a golf course, that there are people that are not as talented as you, and therefore they may hack, or they may swing, or they may lose their golf club.
Or they're a lot more talented than you are, and you've taken 3 shots to get to the green, and they just drove the green. Unfortunately, you were on the green when they hit it.
So in California, there's lots of these problems of whether or not you've assumed the risk of playing the game. There are cases that deal with all kinds of sports, everything from ping pong to golf to horseback riding to football, you name it. And you may well assume the risk of this. But sometimes, and if you assume the risk, that's a defense which may throw you out of court before you ever get to a jury trial or a court trial on the issue.
But?
Well, did the other, it was kids from my recollection, or at least they seemed like kids or teenagers, and they were just messing around and not taking it seriously, and I don't think anybody from the golf course was monitoring their activity. So even if I was assuming a risk, was their behavior, I mean, that's really what caused it.
The problem is that when you play a sport, especially golf, you have to, especially on a public course, you have to assume that there are people who are immature, that there are people that are older and very, quote, immature, or there are young people that are mature, and there are various degrees of qualifications. You've got to assume that people go out there and hack. They may be drinking too much on the 19th hole, but these are defenses. What you probably need to do is see a lawyer, and there are a lot of lawyers that do sports injuries, and determine what the actual facts are in your case. But these are difficult cases to start with. You may have a lawsuit against the kids, you may have a lawsuit against the club, or you may have no lawsuit at all. You've got injuries, but you need to look into it. And these are the kind of cases that you got to move real quickly.
Sandra, are you seeing a doctor now for the headaches?
I have an appointment scheduled for Friday.
Okay, you should definitely, whatever legal suggestions we have for you, you should definitely be taking care of whatever medical issues you have. I mean, that's got to be paramount. You may or may not have a lawsuit, but you certainly have a good reason to be seeing a competent physician to make sure that whatever issues you have, he or she can cure them for you.
And there are two sides to the story, because we've had sports injury cases with basketball players where we have recovered for basketball players, football players where we have recovered for football players, scuba divers where we've recovered for scuba divers. But the law has evolved and changed over the years. It gets tougher and tougher. So this is a case that you can't do by yourself. You really need to get a lawyer. And so you should be working on that right away. But you need to have some investigation and some keen legal people looking at it for you.
Okay.
And by the way, has it helped your game?
The headache? No.
Did it knock some sense into you?
No. I think it's hurt my game, and I wasn't too good to begin with. But.
Well, yeah, it's hard enough swinging that golf club without looking over your shoulder to see what's going on behind you.
This is one of the few sports where they don't put numbers and names on your back like they do on baseball players and football players. On the back of my golf shirt when I played, it had the word hack.
So everybody knew.
Yeah, well.
Yes, indeed. Stay clear. Okay, Sandra,
Okay.
good luck. Good luck, and don't forget to call 1-800-405-4222 tomorrow. Pick up that gift certificate for 2 at Barney's. And
Wow.
we have Lucy waiting to talk to us. Are we ready for another call? Yes, we are.
Hi.
Hey, Lucy. We definitely are.
Absolutely.
She's here. Lucy, talk to us.
Hi. Well, so I was telling the woman who answered the phone that just recently, a couple weeks ago, we had a movie crew come to my neighbor's house, and the movie crew did work next door, but then in the course of their work, they just completely destroyed my yard. I mean, they trampled the yard, they killed the grass. I had all these expensive bonsai trees lined up. They broke some of those pots. You know, they just made a complete mess of things. And when I brought a gardener in to get it all fixed, it ended up costing about maybe $4,000 to put everything back where it was before. And when I tried to tell this to the movie crew, they just left me a card and they said they'd give me about $100 to fix everything.
Oh, that's very kind of them. Did you sign any kind of release with
No,
the movie company?
I didn't sign anything.
Did they pay you to use your property?
No, but they paid my neighbor $5,000 to use his property.
And they didn't even for the $5,000 they trampled your yard instead of their yard.
Well, you know, the interesting part is when they, most of these production companies, when they come out, they try and make peace in the neighborhood and they buy the rights to use your house or the neighbor's house, etc. And I've seen some interesting action on some of this stuff. The person who doesn't get the money, I've heard about cases where they actually go out on their front lawn and put on a loud radio and all this stuff.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But you're the innocent person. You're entitled to be compensated for every bit of damage that they did to you. So, did you take some photographs?
I had some photographs that I took on my phone of the broken pot.
Okay,
and
so
dead grass,
dead grass.
Yeah, Lucy, you should take as many photographs as you can. Maybe interestingly, even video. I can almost assure you that whatever tape or film the company produced as a result of their trampling on your yard, you don't have access to that. Maybe it doesn't even exist. Photographs, video, witnesses, and get an estimate for the cost of repair in total from at least one or two, maybe two competent landscape people.
Now, one of the beauties of what you have is that the small claims court jurisdiction in most cases is up to $10,000.
Okay.
So in your particular case, you should be able to get compensated for the $4,000. And then I would think about adding a complaint in the small claims thing for also trespass, because they illegally went on your property. And in this kind of case, they went on your property and then they caused damage. And I would ask an additional, you know, at least another $5,000 or $6,000 for the trespass damages, and see if you can collect $10,000. You don't have a right. You don't have a right to use an attorney.
I definitely never gave them permission.
Right, I'm sorry, Lucy. Say again. Say that again.
I was going to say I certainly never gave them permission to come onto the property.
Okay. Well, small claims court. There's one probably in your community. There's self-help situations. You can get the information online, lasuperiorcourt.org, and you can see what you have to do.
Lucy, what area are you calling from?
I'm calling from Westchester.
Westchester. Okay.
Yeah.
But you need to do it. What you might want to do quickly is put a letter together, document what your damages are, indicate also for the trespass, request the $10,000, send it out to them so they can't sit and never get information on it. Then wait, you know, give them a week or so to respond. Then after that, file the small claims court. You'll get in court quite quickly, and you will get a decision from a judge.
Okay.
And
do you think I need to get an attorney to help me?
No, in small claims, attorneys are not allowed in to represent other people.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
It's you. So this is your opportunity to practice law on your own behalf in a small claims court.
But you give up any damages over $10,000. It sounds like this is a perfect case for a small claims court. Go take a whack at them.
All right.
I will.
Good luck, Lucy.
And don't watch the show they're doing.
And don't worry, this will not ruin your movie career. I promise you.
Well, I wouldn't know. I don't know about that.
Well, maybe we'll see. Danielle. Next caller is Danielle. Or is it Daniel?
Wait.
Danielle.
Danielle. Welcome to Legal Help Live. How can we help you today?
I'm calling because over this past weekend, my neighbors actually got into a really loud fight, a husband and wife, and to the point where I heard like crashing, like maybe glass breaking or something. So I called the cops. The cops came down, and they actually found a huge amount of cocaine in their home.
Wait.
And
wait. So let's see if we can get this straight. You heard a fight next door. You thought it was the husband and a wife, your neighbors.
Domestic dispute.
Like a domestic dispute, yeah. And so you called the police, and the
Yes.
police showed up at your neighbor's house, and they found what?
A huge amount of cocaine.
Okay.
Oh,
And
then what happened?
so they were convicted, but they didn't go to jail.
Okay,
So
that's not
I was
unusual.
wondering, like, why wouldn't they go to jail if they were convicted of that? And especially because, they're my neighbors. There's a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and now I'm just kind of afraid. Why
Okay,
there's so
so
many drugs there?
that's a good two-part question. In terms of whether they got convicted or not, that really depends on what the evidence turns out to be. Did you testify in the trial?
No, actually, there's no trial yet.
Oh, okay. So what they did is they got arrested, and then bail was set. Bail was set on them for a certain amount of money, and there's this it's kind of a standard bail formula depending on what the crimes are. So assuming they got bail set, which it sounds like, they then had to put up money or property to cover the bail. The bail is so that they'll agree if they don't show up for any reason, it'll be forfeited. There's a presumption of innocence, so unless it's a crime of serious violence or robbery or burglary kind of crimes or murder or rape or crimes of violence, most people have bail set somewhat reasonably. So they probably made bail. And as long as they follow the rules that they're supposed to follow and leave everybody alone, then they'll stay on bail till trial. If they get convicted by a court or a jury, then they'll be sentenced. What the sentence is will depend on their background, history, lifestyle, etc., prior crimes. If they're found not guilty, then they're free. The second problem you have is if you're reasonably afraid because of what went on and your neighbors, one of the things you might want to do, what city do you live in?
In Lawndale?
Okay, that's the sheriff's department.
Yeah, Danielle, what makes you afraid of these people now? And were you afraid of them before?
Actually, no. I've never had any issues with them before. They've never had any, fights to this extent. But, just to see how violent it got and how loud it was, it just scared me to know that maybe, if the kids are outside one day or something and they get into another fight, who knows what they can do, especially if they're under the influence.
Have they said anything to you or done anything to you or threatened to do anything to you since that arrest?
No, I haven't really seen them since that.
Okay.
Well, and what Ralph was doing was talking about whether or not you should try and get a civil restraining order. But based on what you're saying, at this point it sounds like things are neutral. So the other approach is to contact the sheriff's department that services Lawndale, and there is someone who acts as a chief of police for Lawndale. I don't know if that person's at City Hall or it's at the sheriff's station.
I think there's a sheriff's substation there.
And go down and talk about what the problem is, and they may notify the local squad car to keep an eye on the situation. And if you get any kind of anything going on, call the sheriff's or the police immediately. And if there are any overt acts, then think about seeking a civil restraining order.
Yeah, what Steve means by overt act is if they threaten you, actually threaten you, if they do anything violent to you, if they display a weapon of some kind, if they actually instill fear in you that you're going to be harmed, you, your spouse, your children, then you have access to the Superior Court to get a civil harassment restraining order to keep them some distance from you, and it has an effect on people. It usually has an effect on people, and if they have a weapon, if they still have a gun particularly, and there's a restraining order issued by a Superior Court in a civil harassment case, that gun has to be taken away from them. So that's a safety issue all by itself.
And another thing you can do is you can contact the sheriff's department, it sounds like, find out who the detective is handling the case, talk to the detective, tell the detective you're concerned about your safety and your family safety, they'll contact the district attorney's office, and then at least you'll have someone that you can talk to about it. So I'd find out who the detective is on the case, and they'll give you all this information. They really want to help you, and since you turned it in, you'll probably end up testifying in this case.
Yeah, you very well may. Call us tomorrow at 1-800-405-4222. Give us your contact information so that we could get a hold of you, so that we can give you a gift certificate for 2 for dinner or lunch at Barney's. And that's 2, not 4, so you don't have to take your neighbors. All right, you take care. Thanks for calling Legal Help Live.
You know, that's a problem, and you know, it comes up all the time. Do I call the police? Do I not call the police? I mean, you've got cases, and we hear about it all the time. There's a gangbanger situation going on. Do you call the police on it? And
what are they doing? That's
well,
the question you got to ask.
They're shooting each other.
If they're shooting each other, yeah, you call the police.
Do you go down and testify in the case?
A lot of these guys are historically really bad shots. If they're shooting at each other, everybody's in danger, period.
What happens once they get arrested? You go down and people ask this question all the time. Do you go down and testify against them? Do you put your own life in jeopardy by doing that? I mean, these are.
You know, that's a ask your own conscience kind of question.
Yeah, well, it may be ask your own conscience, but who protects you?
If you don't testify, everybody's still in jeopardy. If you do testify,
everybody's still in jeopardy.
Everybody's still in jeopardy to some degree, and you're targeted even more.
Tough situation.
Very, very tough situation. Very, very difficult. So, Stephen, you had a fish question for me, yeah?
Well,
it was about 20 minutes ago, but I'm still here.
The question on the fish situation. This case has gotten all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court?
This case,
okay,
yeah.
So, but what did the appellate court do before it went to the Supreme Court?
You know what? The article doesn't say.
Okay.
Except, hold on. Except, in order for it to get to the Supreme Court, they must have found the violation, and it must have been upheld at the Court of Appeal level. And now the question is, can a fish be deemed to be evidence when the federal crime itself talks about destruction of documents, computer drives, emails, but the law refers to, quote, any record, document, or tangible object with the intent to impede, obstruct, or influence a federal investigation. So there are a lot of scholars, including one of the congresspersons who actually participated in the drafting of the bill, said, I didn't mean fish.
Yeah, no one in their right mind can watch me. I can't. No one in their right mind.
You got the Court of Appeal so far.
No one in their right mind would think that this kind of a law would apply to fish situations.
Well, it's going to be interesting. We'll find
there
out.
There are laws for destruction of evidence.
That's the thing. That's what
doesn't the general destruction of evidence law apply?
You're talking about California state. This is federal. It didn't exist this way before.
Okay.
That's
let's go on something that is
more
a
interesting
little less
than groupers?
fishy. Well,
yeah.
The Nevada Supreme Court just recently, like a day ago, ruled that thousands of strippers on the strip. Now there are all kinds of people that work in.
We're going to have to hold that thought. We're going to hold that thought because we're going to take a break.
Thousands of strippers? I'm going to hold that thought?
You just put your hands out, hold that thought. We're going to be back in just a moment at 1-800-405-4222. We are Legal Help Live, and we'll be talking about strippers as soon as we get back.
Tune for more Legal Help Live.
Hey, slow down!
Right next to the library on 7th Street is the Santa Monica History Museum, where history comes to life for the entire family. Enjoy the exhibits, main gallery, the photo archive, research gallery, and much more. Come visit the Santa Monica History Museum, keeping history alive.
Experience Highway's performance space and gallery.
I knew my journey would lead me to a place
where I'd find a highway that I could travel to the beat of my own drum. Ride out the storm, 95 Joey died, but Deadly was born. and there will be no limits to the vibrancy of my performance.
Join us each week at Highways Performance Space and Gallery and live without limits. Log on to highwaysperformance.org.
Who knows what gratitude means? Nicholas?
To be thankful.
Writing letters to our military is a great way to say thank you for their service.
Frisco! Somebody loves you.
Dear soldier, thank you for keeping me safe. You're my hero.
To donate or send a care package to America's heroes, visit OperationGratitude.com.
Discover 30 years of opera in Santa Monica. Discover the Verdi Chorus.
Okay, Legal Help Live. Ralph, Steve, and we've got a lot of people to talk to. This is the last segment of our show this evening. So let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. Let's start with Amy. Amy, come on and talk to us. Amy?
Yes.
How are you?
Fine.
Good. You have a legal question for us?
Where are you calling from?
I do. I'm calling from the Valley.
The wonderful, wonderful Valley.
Yeah, the fabulous Valley.
So what can we do for you?
There is life over the hill.
Yes.
I was wondering if there's anything that I can do legally to get my landlord to maintain the property we've been renting for 12 years. They've let things really deteriorate.
Like what, for example?
Outside of the house is a shambles.
I'm sorry, the house is what?
The outside of the house is a shambles.
Okay, and could you outline for us exactly what the nature of these problems are with some specificity, and tell us whether or not these problems actually impact your ability to live nicely and comfortably in the house?
Yeah, they absolutely do. I'm embarrassed to have anybody come by or pick me up or drive by the house. They did some work and they sort of tore things apart, and they've left things without any kind of vegetation. So when we first moved in, it was all green and there was a lawn in the back. And all of that is gone now. So basically the backyard, even the landlord joke says it looks like a prison yard.
Well, let's see.
And they raised the rent on top of it.
Do you have a lease, or are you month to month?
We're month to month now.
Is it a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
All right. So when you rent a house, does it have anything in the lease that says they're to do certain things to maintain it, like to maintain the yard and keep
originally that was the agreement. So when we originally did lease it, the original lease, yeah, there was some. They pay for the gardener.
Are they still doing that?
They are still paying for the gardener, but there's as I said, it's just dirt now. They ripped up the lawn.
The problems you have is that in terms of the landlord-tenant relationship, when you're dealing in a house or even an apartment, as long as the roof isn't leaking and the heating is working and the plumbing,
they can let it be.
Plumbing is working and there's not mold in the building or maggots, or it's unsafe to be in there. The cosmetic things, because you're afraid you don't like it doesn't look right on the outside, that's really not generally the landlord's responsibility. That's usually your responsibility. If you've been there for 20 years, you might want to spend a few bucks and clean it up on the outside.
Oh no! This is like the plaster is falling out off the outside of the house.
How about moving? That's usually the greatest right.
Yeah, that really is easy.
Well, Amy, let me ask you this. What Steve and I both are trying to wrap our minds around is the possibility that the place is not inhabitable. And I'm fishing, no pun intended, based upon our last discussion, but I'm sort of fishing for things that might make it difficult for you actually to live there in comfort, as you have a right to.
I have to say they have repaired the things that were making it uninhabitable.
See, the emotional thing is I don't like what it looks like, or
yeah, it's really falling apart. Yeah, exactly.
And you're embarrassed to have someone come out there. That's generally not the landlord's situation.
Even though the place hasn't been painted in 40 years, and the plaster is falling.
No, probably not.
Let me ask you this: have you had any discussion with the landlord concerning fixing this?
Yeah, they keep saying they're going to do it, but they don't do it.
Well, how about this? Have you done any, gotten any estimates as to what the cost of repairs might be?
At one point we did. It was a couple of years ago, but we did. We got people out to look at it, and they gave them a bid. And
are you paying below standard
no,
rent?
we are paying full market.
Well, then move
value.
out. I don't know. Move out.
I've got it. Before you pack your bags, let me suggest something.
Pack the bags and get out of there. Every month you stay there, you're putting money into somebody doesn't care.
Steve must have a great place for you to move to, and he's going to tell you the address in a minute. No, before you pack your bags.
It's really hard to find a house.
It's not easy. I know. Before you pack your bags, you might try this. Get a new estimate for the cost of repair or repairs, and then have a discussion with your landlord. Say, I'll take care of the repairs, and I'm going to deduct it from the rent, or you pay me a check to cover the cost of repairs. You don't have to worry about it. You just have to make sure that you're financially responsible for it. Try that. It may work. It may not. You may end up packing your bags anyway.
Well, the other sure solution in something like this is buy the house. Then you fix it up, get rid of him.
Yeah, that would be, in a perfect world, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah,
exactly.
And but
is there a homeowners association around there?
It's a house.
I know.
There must be, but I don't know.
You might explore a little bit, see if there's a homeowners association, see if the homeowners association bylaws, if there is one, bylaws are being violated, and then report the landlord's inability to.
I feel sorry for the neighbors. They all walk by the house, and I always have to explain, I'm sorry, we're renters. We wouldn't leave it like this.
Right, I'm sure it's embarrassing, but I'm
trying
to give you.
It did look good on Halloween. On Halloween, you were right there.
I'm trying to give you.
Exactly. Everybody said, "Oh, I love the way your house is decorated."
I'm trying to. Well, hold on.
I disagree with Ralph 100%.
I'm trying to give you leverage. Perhaps if there's a homeowners association and there are bylaws, the homeowners association, if it's got any teeth at all, some do, some don't, they may apply pressure directly to the landlord to take care of the outside of his house. That's exactly what homeowners associations do.
I think
that would be something.
I disagree with Ralph. You're paying You're paying market rent. If you can pay market rent someplace else, let the market get out of there. Get to a landlord who will take your rent and keep the place looking nice. It's time to move. And if you need somebody, who's got a truck, he's got a lot of kids that'll lift and carry for you. So 1-800-405-4222. Ask for Rolf and he'll help you pack.
Amy, don't leave yet. Stay there. Fight it out. Okay. Thanks for calling Legal Help Live.
He's now whipping on us.
Call us in a month and let us know that all the repairs are made and somebody else paid for it. Thank you very much, Amy. We're going to take Robert next. Robert, come on in and talk to us.
Oh, thank you for taking my call.
You're very welcome, Robert. Where are you calling from?
From downtown L.A.
Downtown. Lovely downtown. What can we do for you?
Are you volunteering now to bring your truck over to Amy's and pick up her stuff and help her move? I guess
I think not. Robert, you have a legal question for us?
Yes. I bought a package of bacon. It was sealed with a sold by date. It's not expired yet. 3 people ate the bacon and all 3 got really sick. In fact, 2 went to the hospital with food poisoning. And I'm feeling sick right now, too. What can I do?
Wait. Robert, we're missing stuff. Why are you feeling sick?
I ate the bacon.
Okay, so you bought some bacon from a market. You bought a packet of bacon. You went home. You cooked the bacon?
Yes, with my friends.
You cooked the bacon with a friend. Your friend got sick. You got sick. He ended up in the hospital, and now you feel like you may be going to the hospital. Is that what the issue is?
Yeah.
Robert, when did this happen? When did you buy the bacon, and did you check to make sure it wasn't past its sold by date?
Why does he have to check?
He should.
It was yesterday.
Oh, he bought
yesterday?
Okay.
I'm gathering evidence.
You're gathering evidence. All right. Well, it's called product liability. If you buy a product and you use it in the normal way it's intended and you're injured by it, then anybody that's involved in the distribution of the product is basically liable for you if there's something wrong with it. And you're not supposed to get sick when you ate bacon. On the other hand, it depends on what else you ate that day. Maybe, how do we know that is the bacon caused the problem? And it wasn't the peaches you ate or the French toast you made or the bad eggs.
Do you still have the bacon? Not the bacon that you ate, but the bacon that you didn't eat but came in the same package.
Yeah, this one pack, I bought two, and then there's another one.
Okay, don't throw the bacon. Do you still have any parts of the bacon that was bad?
Anything from the original package that you opened and took from?
Save the bacon, put it in a sealed package, seal it up, tape it, write on the tape, this is the bacon, put it back in your refrigerator so you can save the evidence.
Call the Los Angeles County Health Department. They have a section that deals just, not with bacon necessarily, but just with food that's gone bad and has poisoned people. That's why there is a health department for Los Angeles County. It's the Los Angeles County Health Department.
And if you're actually sick over, because we had a number of cases dealing with cheese. It was all this bad cheese, and people had horrible injuries out of it. If your sickness is related to the bacon, and they'll test the bacon. If you say you bought the bacon, we're getting sick, they'll test it, you'll get the results back. And if it's something that's related to the bacon, then you've got a lawsuit for the damages that you sustained. You should also go to a doctor now if you're really not feeling good and get checked out and find out what your problems are. And keep the bacon. And once you find out that there's something wrong with the bacon, then you might want to go see a lawyer to sue for your medical bills and your pain and suffering caused by your injuries.
Yes.
This kind of stuff goes on a lot.
Yes, it does. And you have to be very, very careful when you're bringing home bacon. All right, the next caller is Yolanda. Yolanda, you have a question?
Yes, I just had a question. If I was involved in a hit and run accident, can my insurance company, can they, or the DMV, can they add a point to my, to my driving record?
Well, let's start from the beginning. You're in a car accident? And you run away?
No, I didn't run away. The car hit me and they left, and I stayed there behind, but I couldn't go after anybody or anything.
Okay, so now and how did the accident happen?
I was actually pulling out, and then I was making a turn, and the car they ended up hitting me from the side, the back end.
Okay.
And then they took off, and I stayed there. I couldn't move my car because.
So you stayed there. The other car split.
Yes, it left.
And did anybody get the license plate on the other car?
No, there was only a couple that was walking on the street, and they came to make sure that I was okay. I got to see the color of the car. I didn't see what kind of a car it was, but they just left. So. What I was worried about is when I go to tell the insurance company, will they count that point against me, or the DMV will they count that?
First of all, the insurance company, and you did not get a traffic ticket, correct?
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
No,
were the police called? Okay. Did the police show up and conduct an investigation?
They didn't even come or nothing. Some gentleman just helped me to pull the part of my car out, and I was able to drive my car home.
How much damage to your car?
You know what? The back end of it was smashed in, and it was just up against my wheel, but some gentleman helped me to push it out so that I can drive my car home. So basically, it's just like the top fender of the back of my car.
What kind of a car is it?
It's a Equinox.
Were you hurt?
No.
I'm sorry?
No, I wasn't hurt. Nothing. Right. Well, just a little bit of damage, but when I...
Okay, if it was hit and run, you should file, the SR1 with the DMV, because there was a crime involved, and you have insurance. You don't know who the other person is. In regards to you getting paid, your insurance company should fix it less your deductible. I don't know what your deductible is. In terms of whether this will affect your driving record, it should not, because that person was involved in a hit and run. You've already turned it into your insurance company. They should get your car fixed. And if you've got no bodily injuries, your lucky stars, you're okay.
Yeah.
You'd have generally 2 years to sue the hit and run person if you sustain some injuries.
Find 'em.
If you can find them. On the other hand, a lot of policies have uninsured coverage. So if you're involved with a vehicle that's not insured, you may well be covered there if you had personal injuries. But it doesn't sound like you're injured, so you're really lucky. So I don't believe that it will affect your driving record at all.
There's another source that you might pursue, and that would be through the local prosecutor's office. There has been on the books for about 40 years now victims of violent crime statute that you may be able to, because there was a criminal act and there were some injuries involved, you may be able to collect from the fund for victims of violent crimes. I would contact the local prosecutor to ask questions about that.
Okay, I will. I'll do that. And then, yeah, because you know how sometimes like the insurance company will tell you something, and then, so that was, you know, I had questioned that, and then I didn't really get a straight answer, you know, but that's what I was worried about. Would it be listed like as something that was my fault, even though it wasn't my fault, or?
You know, I'm assuming the damage is over $1,000.
The problem is sometimes and frequently insurance companies will raise your rate even if it is absolutely, blatantly just not your fault. They'll still raise your rates if you're involved in an accident.
What's your driving record like?
I don't have no tickets. I don't. You know what? The only ticket that I've ever got was when I was 16 years old.
16. So that was just a couple of years ago.
I wished.
Well, you know, where are you calling from? What area?
Yeah, I'm calling from Chino, California.
Well, Chino's a great area.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to be
kind of high though here.
You're going to be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so
right,
yeah,
Yolanda,
that's what I was
we're
worried about. Because you know how
gonna
sometimes they tell you one thing, and then you know when you look at it, and then God, you know, it wasn't even my fault. But that way, at least I can come back at them, you know, and let them know, you know what.
Well, we've got a couple of suggestions for you now. So follow them. Let us know how it goes down tomorrow. Call 1-800-405-4222 so we can get the contact information and get you that gift certificate for two at dinner or lunch at Barney's. Thank you for calling Legal Help Live, Yolanda, and we are going to go to the phones and pick up Paula. Paula, come on in. Paula left. Paula left?
Was it Paula right turn or left turn?
Okay. Paula has transmogrified into Maria.
You know, okay,
Maria, what's your legal question, Maria? And good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. I actually wanted to ask, at the beginning of this year, I went for military training, and I was gone for 6 months. And while I was gone, I was sending out my my rent checks to cover my rent for my family who was still out here. But there was times where either the military wouldn't pay me on time, and obviously I couldn't send out a check that didn't have funds. Or sometimes I would send out, you know, the check and there were funds, but the check would get there late because of, you know, me being on the East Coast. And I was constantly getting charged late fees for my check being late. And I tried speaking to my management company who owned the property, and they told me that they couldn't waive those late fees even though there was nothing I could do about that. So I wanted to see if there was anything that I could do in regards to that, because I ended up paying about $300 worth of late fees because of that.
How about the soldiers? Interesting question. Ralph, what about the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Act? Would that apply?
I'm not sure, but it seems to be violative of everything our country should stand for, to have you in training back east, and you do everything you're supposed to do, and your landlord management company charges you extra, basically because you're in training in the military. That just seems absolutely wrong. I would contact...
Well, you know what I would do first? I would get on Yelp,
Yeah.
And I'd find out whether they're listed on Yelp. I'd start putting down some reviews about what they've done to you. It sounds to me like you're being discriminated because of your military situation. If you're in the military, I'd get a hold of the JAG officer that's in there and find out. They'll tell you exactly what to do. I'd get a hold of, what area do you live in?
I'm sorry?
What area do you live in?
In Rancho Cucamonga.
Well, there's I'm sure there's a veterans organization out there too.
Yeah, yeah. Or you could call your the military base. There has to be a legal team on the military base that would be able to help you. And in addition to that, there may be legal aid organizations that don't necessarily charge you any money, nor do they expect any monetary return for their volunteering to help military people in situations just like what you're facing.
And find out who your congressperson is in the area that you live in. This is the federal representative that gets elected every 2 years that serves your district. They'll have a branch office in your district in the area you are. Get on the phone, tell them what's happening. They'll probably be able to give you some specific information about the veteran situation. If none of this works, then it's a perfect case for small claims court and lay it out in front of a judge. The sheriff will serve them for about $18, I think it is. If you win, you'll get it back. And I think you should win. I mean, we got to support the troops. Good luck.
I agree with that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Maria, thank you very much for calling Legal Help Live. We appreciate the call. Folks, we're at 1-800-405-4222. Stephen.
Well, I just wanted to say one thing.
Yes, it's your turn.
I was remembering.
You're up.
I was going to talk about strippers, but since we had a caller about cruddy-looking backyards, there was a person who just spent 6 hours in jail for failing to maintain her yard in accordance with the standards set by a city, and she got jailed for it. Yeah, she had tall lawns and didn't repair it, et cetera, et cetera. So there may be a criminal violation for this landlord in L.A. I'm not sure about it. This was not in the city of L.A., but this lady got jailed for violating a city ordinance of not maintaining her lawn.
How did she work that into jail?
Well, because she had two priors of the same thing.
A lawn violation with two palm tree priors.
She could not kept her yard in good shape. All the neighbors were all PO'd. So they basically arrested her, and she went to trial. She was convicted. She wouldn't change it, and the judge put her in jail. She was in jail for not cutting her lawn.
Well, I'll tell you what.
So that's Amy's solution.
People get put in jail for very funny things. I picked this thing up from the American Bar Journal this week. In Fort Lauderdale, Florida, so it's not going to affect us directly, but there are a lot of cities that have ordinances like this. There were 3 people who were cited, and they face serious fines. 2 of them were clergy, and one of them is a 90-year-old advocate for the homeless. You know what they were cited for?
No.
Feeding people. There's a group called Love Thy Neighbor, and they gather at a city park on Sundays, and they feed the homeless. And as a result of that, these 3 nice people got citations. So beware, if you're hungry in Fort Lauderdale, try not to be on the lawn when you have your meal.
By the way, I want to thank you all out there. The questions you asked were great. They were all over. You were all over Southern California. The questions were all different. They were unique.
Yep.
We hope we helped some people out there. Remember, keep calling. You've got the 800 number to call us on when we're on the air.
And now it's time for us to actually run. We got to go. It's been lovely talking with you all. Legal Help Live, Ralph and Steve. We're at 1-800-405-4222. We'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care.